said money. I'm a medic. I am a medic. The federal agents shot at my head while I was trying to help a man who was bleeding out on the corner. Where were the cops to defend us? Where were your officers to protect me? Someone who's here to save lives. Where were they? Where were they to protect us? Where were you to keep your sick?
They're saying they're no longer protesting, this is just civil war.
Goodness gracious, I get the microphone. Hello people, those of you who are on Facebook Live with me, I'm here with Ted Wheeler, and we're going to ask some poignant questions about the changes that we need to do in our city. So let's talk to Mr. Wheeler. So Mr. Wheeler, everyone in the crowd wants to know what you're going to do about qualified immunity. Go ahead and answer that.
I am opposed to qualified immunity. We're going to get rid of it. To do it, we have to work with our state legislature to do it. I'm 100% committed to getting rid of qualified immunity.
Okay, he says he's 100%.
Asked when. I'm hoping it will come up in the next special legislative session, which is scheduled in the next couple of weeks. But I believe today. Good, thank you.
Yeah, those of you who got your ballot today, understand that Mr. Wheeler has committed to getting rid of qualified immunity for police. So we do have to hold his feet to the fire and make sure that we hold him accountable for what he has committed to do. Next question. You say that the feds are doing all of this illegal activity, and we see it. We see our First Amendment rights being denied. We see our Fourth Amendment rights being trampled on. This happened before the feds got here. We've been having our Fourth Amendment rights trampled my entire life. I'm a 43-year-old man. I was here during the choke 'em, don't smoke 'em t-shirts. I remember that. I'm a friend of James Perez, who died 97 seconds after he was stopped by police. We've been having our rights trampled before the feds came. Under your watch, what do you plan on doing about our rights? And just look at these people. They're here for a reason. They want to know what you're going to do to protect our rights because they're not being protected.
There is no question that we here in Portland, and I will say me as police commissioner, I'm not going to make this about other people, we have been too slow to acknowledge both the systematic racism and the injustice of the police system, but also the education system, the economic system, access to housing, access to health care. And what you're seeing around you is a referendum on where America is today with regard to racial justice. And what people are saying overwhelmingly is it has not worked, it is broken, and we need to fundamentally reform the system. And so I will continue to work with my colleagues on the City Council. We passed historic reforms. We've directed resources from the Police Bureau back into the community. We are in the process of overhauling the oversight and accountability system, but it starts with who we hire. We need more diversity in our hiring, how we train officers, and how we hold officers accountable. And all of those things are already in process with our colleagues. It came 40 years too late. I cannot argue that point. It's come 400 years too late.
My last question before I pass the microphone is, I got you, is we've seen our local police department working in conjunction, and multiple people have witnessed that they've worked in conjunction with groups like the Proud Boys. What do you have to say about that?
If there was ever any solid proof that they were working with the Proud Boys or any other organization, it would be appalling to me personally, and there would be discipline. Now, I want to be clear, that have people's constitutional rights, but I don't want police officers taking sides politically. They have to be content neutral and agnostic to what the politics of the moment are. It gets very dangerous when policing becomes politicized, and that's what Donald Trump is doing with his federal troops when he says, I'm only sending them into cities that are controlled by Democratic mayors. That is politicization of the police force, and it's not acceptable, and it is unconstitutional.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a question for you as well, Mr. Mayor. Before you, I had spoken to your predecessor.
Sorry, I thought this was going to be a listening session, not me doing
No, well, we got questions, and you're the only man that has the answers, and we're hoping that your answers are what we are hoping to hear. I had spoken to your predecessor after the first time I had to hold up a sign that said, I can't breathe, in honor of another black man strangled by police. And I talked to your predecessor, who confirmed to me that when this president, who is now our current president, whether or not we agree or not, would enforce stop and frisk in this city, he guaranteed me that he would not. I think we've now gone even past stop and frisk to having federal officers unidentified on the streets pulling off civilians, which is even worse than at least having a badge and a name that I can identify to. Is there anything within our local government and state government to be able to stop having these federal officers or to protect us against them, seeing that they are now the instigators? You yourself have said this on multiple news channels, CNN, MSNBC, that you agreed that this had calmed down. We were working with the city. This is now obviously brought out not just mothers, not just people of all races and colors, ages, but it's making a lot of people very angry. What can you say that you are going to do to protect us against them?
So the first thing that I am doing to protect us is I am doing everything in my power to get them to leave. And what that means specifically is I have been raising the alarm nationally. I've been on national TV shows talking to people about what is happening in this city and that they cannot be passive and sit back and watch it in Portland, because it will come to a city near them next. The next thing we're doing is using the tools of the law. Our state attorney general, our city attorneys, they're looking at every legal action available in our state.
I'm going to stop you right there even with that, because this is the same party line that you've been toting the last couple of days. That this is what you've been telling, but the issue is that those are words. What is the action? What are you going to do tonight when we have unidentified federal officers on the streets hurting your civilians, hurting your citizens, the people that elected you? What are you going to do about this? And if there isn't something that you can't do, can you say that there is nothing you can't do? Because anything that goes through legislation, anything that goes through a lawsuit through our Attorney General will take months, if not years, to be held up.
I believe the fastest path is what we are pursuing, which is we're working with our United States senators and our congressmen, congressional delegation. They control the money. They control the paychecks. They control the power of the purse. That's probably the fastest tool we have, other than the legal actions that our state attorney general is taking, which I strongly support. And then, of course, just bringing global attention bringing global attention to this issue.
So you're saying that tonight there is nothing you can do to protect these thousands of people around us immediately from the federal officers in our city? There's nothing immediately that you can do to protect us?
I think what we are doing tonight is actually the best thing we can do right now, is be here, be heard, be unified, and be clear. We didn't want them. We didn't ask for them. They are not trained for what they are being asked to do, and we want them to leave.
Thank you, Mr.
Hey, Mayor Wheeler. Mayor Wheeler. My name is Simab Husseini. I'm with the Council on American Islamic Relations, Oregon chapter. And the question I have is that the precedent for how we've been treated as protesters night after night for the past 55 days has been already laid by Portland Police Bureau and how they've treated us. So the only thing that we're getting from the federal agents is an escalation and less expired munitions, more potent munitions coming at us. So it's already been laid down. The way we've been treated has been happening to us by PPB all the time. The whole protest and all beyond. We're here protesting for Kwani's Hayes. We're here protesting for the lives that have been lost at the hands of PPB. So the federal thing to me is just gaslighting. That's not as important as what's actually happening. The systemic violence that Black lives have been facing, and that all of us are here trying to say Black Lives Matter. It's a statistical expression. So what are you going to commit to outside of the 15 million that you guys started with, which is not enough? What are you going to commit to between now and through your campaign, and if you make it past your campaign, what are you going to commit to as far as substantial changes in law enforcement, and as well as regulating the PPA? Because Darrell Turner has clearly taken over as commissioner over your duties for the last 55 days up until Trump came.
So, first of all, I cannot regulate Darrell Turner. He's a union official. There's nothing I can do to discipline a union official. Let me just answer the question. Let me answer the question. Darrell and I have had our public disagreements. And when he says something that I disagree with, I call him out. He certainly feels free to call me out, and he most certainly has. The second thing that I would tell you is with regard to munitions, I do not like the deployment of crowd control munitions generally because they tend to be indiscriminate. If I am committing a criminal act and you are not, and we're standing in close proximity, the munition doesn't know the difference. And so I called for restrictions on those munitions. All of them are up for review. The special session of the legislature is looking at them. And tactics, absolutely. And I have asked the police bureau to do two things. I have asked them to de-escalate the situation, and when they make arrests, make sure they are people who are specifically engaged in illegal activity.
I have personally been shot by these munitions indiscriminately. I've been gassed indiscriminately by not being a participant.
That we've done together on sanctuary city status.
The main question I think a lot of people are asking right now, Mr. Mayor, is...
Okay.
Hi, my name is Philip Wood. I'm a deaf individual and I need access. And when everyone is yelling and you are in the space, you are taking away my access. My sign language interpreters are not able to relay the messages that are being said. I have a right to also listen. This is a city for access for everybody. Please be mindful and respectful of that. Do not crowd.
Hey, we have people, yes, he is, and he has people with special needs that would like to be able to communicate. Please, and thank you. How is the baby coming along? How's the baby coming along? I have a question.
This is not productive.
This is really not fair.
What venue did it make? Let's make it that. Right here now.
Who's here with him right now? Are you here with him? He was supposed to be in.
I'm not liking the vibe I'm getting. I want out. Okay, we need to go out. No, not yet. We can't.
Oh, and others, please, can everyone move back just a couple steps? Please. We have those that are trying to speak.
Yes, we're still going that way.
Okay. Will you commit to working towards abolishing the Portland Police Bureau? Yes or no?
No, I do not support that.
Hey, this is a listening session. This is a listening session.
Whatever Kate Brown want to do, right? Why are you going against what she want to do? Why are you going against Kate Brown and whatever decision she want to make? You tell us no and do what you want to do in the office. So why are you coming? Why are you out here tonight to do what? To make a stop? To prove a point? Like, I need to answer your question. What are your job right now to help all of us right now?
So I wanted to be out here tonight. It's been several weeks since I came out with the crowd to hear what people are talking about, what they're thinking. And I met with people one-on-one or with small groups, but I wanted to be here and hear what people are thinking. And I was invited to do a listening session tonight by the Portland Tribune, OPB, and Coin News. And I'm here to hear what people have to say.
Okay, so I have a 9-year-old son, right? What the fuck do I need to tell my son when he get older? I have a 9-year-old son. The police is killing us. So what do I tell my son when he go to his friend's house, go to school? What do I tell him? The police is nice? The police gonna kill you?
That his father was there when we began the fundamental reform of policing that we have needed in this country for a long, long time. And you were part of the vanguard of that movement. We're making huge progress right now. We have a long way to go. I'm not going to say we don't. But we are actually making change now at the speed of light in terms of how we are allocating resources, commitments to equity and BIPOC communities, support for things like education, housing, healthcare, the basic things that actually are also related to safety for all families in our community. And a big thrust for me is around economic prosperity.
There is a question asked in the row behind us by at least 5-10 people. Are you willing to give up your control of the Portland Police Bureau to Joanne Hardesty? As a woman of color who has lived in this city, would you be willing to give her that ability to be able to work, as also her representing the fire department and all the others?
We have a new commissioner coming on in August. I don't know who that new commissioner is going to be. And we have at least one and possibly more new commissioners coming on in a couple of months in January. All of the bureaus are up for discussion, all of them.
So currently you will not be giving it to Joanne Hardesty within any amount of time currently. You will not be giving up your role as a part of, in control of the police commission.
I do not currently have plans to do so, no, but I have been working and partnering with Commissioner Hardesty on a number of reforms that we've already passed. We have a good working relationship, not just in the police bureau, but also the work that we're doing around the Portland Street response, our 911 call center. There's a lot of good work that Commissioner Hardesty and I are committed to doing together.
Right, so to confirm, you said no, you will not be giving up the Portland Police Bureau to Joanne Hardesty to be in control of.
I have no plans at this time to do that. That is correct.
Thank you.
I reserve the right to be able to do, as mayor, I assign bureaus, and I reserve a right to be able to do that later if I so choose.
Mr. Wheeler, so as a Latin person and you being here willing to listen, that's your intent tonight, a lot of people don't acknowledge that Latin people and Native American people were subject to the most successful ethnic cleansing that has ever been attempted on Earth. 95% of us were wiped out. So keeping that in mind and looking at all of our black brothers and sisters and how scared we are out of our minds, Are you ready to admit that internalized racism, internally and externally in Portland culture, might have had a role to play in your lack of action in this?
Well, first of all, I don't believe I have had a lack of action. I know there are people who think I've not moved fast enough. But I will, but I will. I buried the lead. But I will agree to the statement you made about systematic racism, about my own power and privilege. And power and privilege can blind people to the reality. And when George Floyd was murdered, there is no way anyone in this country could not see the depth of the systematic injustice and racism that has plagued BIPOC communities in this country since its founding. And that goes for me too. It goes for me too, absolutely.
So I'm in a very interesting position, being a part of this movement, being somebody who is half white but is also Mexican, and that's very scary for me, especially because this movement is not about me. It's about other people, and it's very rightfully so. I'm scared. I want to know if you're scared, and if you are, what are you scared of?
I would say the biggest thing I'm scared of is that we lose the moment. That the moment and the movement get overshadowed by something else. Nationally, we now have a reckoning. Nationally, we've awoken to the systematic racism and the injustice and the massive inequities that exist for BIPOC communities nationally. And I'm worried that the Trump administration is changing the channel. And it's becoming about crowd control tactics as opposed to systematic racism and injustice or even police reform. We're moving our attention off the ball. That's my concern. That's what keeps me up, and that's one of the reasons.
Hi, my name is Philip Wolf. First, I want to let everybody know that I am deaf and I need accessibility, so I need to be able to see the interpreter. If there's too many people crowded around, I lose my access. People, you can hear, you are able-bodied. That is a privilege. Be aware of your privilege, please, and be respectful to other people who do not have the ability to hear. Okay? I also have the right to ask a question and have a response from the mayor. So please, can everyone move back? Just a few steps. Please move back. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. First of all, I want to understand something. From day one, the Portland police have used flash bombs, tear gas, and other tactics against protesters. People who are disabled, whatever accessibility they have is already lacking. So when there's added escalation with the police, our access is gone and we're at risk. We're in danger. I want to know and I want to understand that when you say it's the feds' fault, they're the ones to blame for making the situation worse. They're the reason that we are being hurt. I see you blaming the feds. I don't see you taking action because the feds haven't been here since day one, but you have been. So what are you doing for us as a community? What are you doing for the disabled community? You have to stop gaslighting us. You have to be honest and direct with your answers.
Philip, it's good to see you again, and I appreciate the question again. I am not blaming the feds solely. I am absolutely calling out what the federal government is doing here in the city of Portland because I do believe fundamentally it is a threat to American democracy, but that does not give any of us the excuse or the opportunity to ignore what our own responsibilities are here. I am standing in front of you as the mayor and as the police commissioner, and I am taking full responsibility and accountability for the actions of the police bureau. And we are. We actually are. Philip, you can disagree with whether you think what we have done is enough right now. You can disagree. Honest people can disagree. Portlanders can disagree. But we have already made historic changes. We've already redirected funds, and we have a lot more work to do. And by the way, I'd love to see a lot of this energy turn into working with us to make those additional changes. It's not about me, it's about you. It's about you. It's about you. It's about all of us as a community. As a community.
But the issue is the Portland Police Bureau have been using abusive and assaultive tactics on us from day one. And now tonight is the first night that you've actually been out to talk to us. And you also have not prioritized accessibility. I have had to bring my own interpreters tonight. I'm paying them myself because you have failed to provide accessibility for the community. Where is our access?
So, Philip, in large measure because of your advocacy at Portland City Hall, we have been working on the access issues that we did through the Office of Equity and Human Rights. You were the one who led that effort, and I have supported it, and that's what we're doing in City Hall. As for community events, you and I have had many conversations. I was invited here tonight. I agree with you, there should always be an interpreter, and at the events that I plan, there always are interpreters, and I'm sorry you had to bring your own. Aren't you an interpreter? Am I?
Ted, it's me, Kiana. How are you doing? You remember me last time when I talked to you last time? Okay, so, and the time before and all the other times, and I'm back again. And you know why I'm back again? Because you told me that you were going to put the money within the schools in North and Northeast, and I still haven't seen it. But what I'm here to talk to you about is, we're all here for what? Black Lives Matter. We're not here to talk about the police because I can give a fuck about the police. We're not here to talk about defunding the police. What we're here about is so that you can put the money where it needs to belong, which is with our black and brown kids. Let's talk about the biggest system right now that is being funded. It's not the police system. It is the school to prison pipeline. That is the biggest funded system right now. And what you need to do as in Oregon, as the mayor, is take the money out of the Justice Center and put it into the education system. For example, let's talk about numbers. Let's talk about numbers, right? So, for example, if a black or brown child gets suspended or expelled, they are 3 times more to go to the justice system within that year. And also, if we look at numbers, black and brown kids are 31% more likely to be suspended or expelled for minor, not major, but for minor defenses. So my question to you as the mayor, right? You're the mayor, okay. So my question to you is, what are you doing? Because we defunded the police, right? Where's that money at?
I think after all the years you and I have been together, we now are aligned, and we are in agreement on something really important. First of all, you advocated for, and the city council, including me, heard you, and we got rid of the school resource officer program. It is gone, and we are reallocating those resources back into the community. They have not been allocated yet, but you are 100% right that the biggest inequity is around education, both access to education, support for young kids in their educational endeavors, and then opportunities for job training or pathways to higher education when they complete their primary education. And I am extremely passionate about that, and I agree with you, and I'm very excited to keep working with the people that we have. I'm the chair of the Children's Levy. The Children's Levy, allocates a lot of money to early childhood issues. I've been a big supporter of Kairos, PDX, and Cali Lad. Those are all really important efforts, and I will continue to fight alongside you to do that. Thank you.
So one more thing, we talked about the Children's Levy last time, right? And yes, you are on that committee, but my question is, where are their funds going? Because those funds aren't going to North Portland schools. Those funds are going to Northeast Portland schools. Those funds definitely aren't going to East County, where you guys had gentrified North and Northeast and sent all of the black and brown people to. So if you're on that committee and you're sitting here saying that you're aligned with me, that you agree with me, what are you doing?
So the Children's Levy, we cannot direct resources, I believe, directly to school districts. We can't just transfer the funds to other governments, but what we do is we actually allocate those towards school support, early childhood. A big thrust is early childhood support, and not just for the kids, but also for their families. Child care is critically important. A lot of our families are struggling with access to child care, and that creates problems because if you have a 2 or even a 3 job family, they can't necessarily do the things they need to do to support their kids the way they want to in the education system. And we cannot allocate the children's levy outside the city of Portland, but we do have partnerships in all of the school districts within the city of Portland. I would love to actually see the children's levy model replicated statewide because it's a very effective and accountable levy, and I didn't know about your enthusiasm for it. I'm really excited. I feel like we have found alignment on that issue, and I appreciate it. Sure.
So the money that you guys quote unquote defunded from the police department maybe approximately 30 days ago when we first started coming out here, where's the money now?
So a big chunk of it has been allocated towards a program that is being started by Commissioner Hardesty that elevates black youth. It's like a black youth. It's not an advocacy program, but it's a mutual support and coaching effort that Commissioner Hardesty is leading. A lot of it has gone into the street response. Over half of it's being saved for a community-driven process in terms put aside for a community-driven allocation process. So it has not yet been allocated, but it will be through a community process. I'm not sure. I believe that's happening through the Office of Community and Civic Life, and I don't have the specific timeline with me tonight. But if you give me your information, I can get back to you on that. Good.